And a very good evening, everyone. Welcome into your box seat, brought to you in association with Woodlands. Michael, it's Interdom final week. That means there's a whole lot of discussion leading into it. But what we do know is the Kiwis have qualified very nicely, thanks very much, and have come up with some pretty good barriers.
I sure have. Good evening to you, mate. Good evening to everybody watching at home. I hope things are going well heading into Christmas. Who would have thought, Greg, that this Interdom, which was much maligned in this side of the Tasman because the stakes probably aren't high enough, and we didn't think the New Zealanders would have a big role to play. Just a month ago, all our big names were pulling out. 1, 2, 3 on the points table for the New Zealand Pacers. 1, 2, 3 in the market for the final. And in the Trotters, there's probably only really 2 winning chances, and one of them is a New Zealand trained horse. The other one, a former New Zealand trained horse, New Zealand bred. So all of a sudden, this Interdom, which we thought was an afterthought after Cup Week, will have a really strong Kiwi focus Saturday night coming out of Melbourne.
It will. We've got a lot for you tonight because we've got an outstanding night it is at Alexandra Park. Can't wait to get into the Queen of Hearts night there. So we'll look at the Interdom finals, the All-Stars, and then we'll talk about Speeding Spur. Group 1 night at the park, and yes, it is Queen of Hearts, so looking forward to that race. It's always well sought after. We'll talk to some big guns, and we have a new member of the 1,000 Win Club, so all of that ahead on your show this evening. But Michael, the all-important barrier draw for the Pacers has been completed. As we know, the Kiwis have fared pretty well, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, they have. Well, 2 of the 3 did. Pat's Delight and Spankum, 2 horses who a month ago we didn't think would be in this series, have been outstanding during the series. They got barrier 3 for Ein Pat's Delight, as he is known. That's almost perfect. And Spankum's got 5, which is potentially tricky. The news coming out, of course, Mark Purdon to drive Spankum, Natalie Rasmussen sticking with Cruise Bromac. Now, he's got the second line, and quite clearly, Greg, he's the horse who needs speed off the front line. But as you and I both know, there's plenty of speed there.
There is. Inside Galactic Star, we saw him lead earlier in the series from a wider barrier, from 1. They'll be declaring, I'm sure, that they're going to stay there, but Pat's Delight will come out. I'm Pat's Delight. Mark Doro is definitely a gate flyer. Can't see Spankum going back. He'll be looking to slot in, one would think. And Tiger Tara simply can't go back.
No, he can't. And even if these horses do slot into 3 or 4 back on the outside, the way a horse like Spankum is racing, you imagine he has to come around the field in the middle stages. The games have started. Australian harness racing's far more verbose than things are over here. So automatically the Bond team have said we're going to lead with Galactic Star. I don't entirely believe that, to be honest. I think they're looking to lead early and hand up to the right horse. Crandell Giddy's come out and said he wants Gavin Lang, who's never won an Interdom pacing final, to lead with On Pat's Delight. And if he does get there, he's saying he'll stay there. Not sure how much of all that I believe, Gregory. Obviously, Mark would love to be in front on Spankum, who looks the most informed horse in the series. And Tiger Tara probably can't win from anywhere but in front. So those 4 things can't end up in the same place, and there's gate speed from Mark Doro. One thing I do know is that not many horses are racing as well in Australasia as this horse. I didn't think he'd be this big a factor in the series, Greg. He is just jogging through the heats.
Look, he moved around to sit park, but he was keen to head to the front, so Natalie thought, right, I'll let you go. Now, have a look here. She has not moved a muscle and could have won by maybe another 5 if she wanted to. He's right in the zone. I think him missing some of the 3-year-old racing due to injury is really standing to him now, and he's come into this series as an underdog, and he's ended up the top dog going into the final.
I 100% didn't see this coming. At the end of his 2-year-old season, when he got beaten in the duels, I thought, maybe just one of those 2-year-olds of Mark's. He's got him up and he's got him fit, and maybe he won't go on with the job. And then at 3, he won a heat of the Victoria Derby, and I thought, yeah, that's about him. The other ones have come through, Chase Auckland, they're better. Completely wrong. He's just come back and he's been enormous in this series. We'll talk to Natalie Rasmussen shortly. She's just jumping up and down about him. So he's right in the zone, as is Cruise Bromac. And Pat's Delight is racing better in open class than I thought he would. Admittedly, the Kaikoura Cup sort of signalled that to us. Tiger Tara's been the big loser in the draw. We know how good he is, and when he's in front, he's a very powerful horse. This is Cranbourne last Saturday night, Greg. I'm not saying he's unimpressive, but this isn't the best version of him for me, because in the Victoria Cup 2 months ago, he ran away from this class of horse. He doesn't run away from them here.
No, and San Carlo was parked outside him, and then basically got to within a length of him, length and a half at the finish. So he only beat our Uncle Sam. You know, like I'm not trying to knock the Victorian form, but it wasn't that good.
No, I agree. And he's looking tired, which at the end of a long week, 3 runs in a week, that's fair. A lot of horses did look a touch tired last week. I'm not sure whether that New Zealand Cup run got to the bottom of him. Like, he's such a wonderful horse, I can't doubt him. And running to the front, he can still win this final. But I saw nothing scary from him on Saturday, nothing that made me go, wow, he can overcome barrier 7. So he's been the drifter in the market. The other drifter in the market, quite interestingly, has been On Pat's Delight, because he opened second favourite, got out to $5 because a lot of money came for Cruise Bromac once Natalie said she'll drive it. And we'll hear from her shortly that it's not actually cut and dried that he's the best chance. They think Spanker might be their best chance, but because of loyalty, she's sticking with this horse. Here's the 2 Kiwis, Cruise Delight in front and Cruise Bromac in front, Pat's Delight outside. Greg, both very, very strong throughout the entire series.
Yeah, and both strong to the line here too. Gavin making sure he found the line with I'm Pat's Delight, and he really has developed as the series gone on. As you said before, the Kaikoura Cup Quinella, you never would have thought that they would be amongst the top 3 favourites for this series, but there's not a lot to dislike about him. He had a great 3-year-old season. He went so close to the New Zealand Derby, won himself the jewel, so I'm not surprised that he stepped up, but having these 4-year-olds as in the top 2 or 3 favourites, 3 favourites for the Interdom is unusual, Michael.
Well, it's also given us a young brigade against the old brigade. The old brigade started to fall to pieces. Lazarus was sold, Letty the Shark was retired. And then these 4-year-olds have come through. But the older horses, Tiger Tara is 8, San Carlo's 8, and Cruise Bromac is 7. So these horses have been around a long time, and it depends on which version of the Interdom horses you like. The old tough buggers, like Smolder, or those younger horses who have come through. So Natalie Rasmussen is joining us on the line. And Natalie, we appreciate your time this evening. To make it easy for us, did you choose Cruise Bromac because he's your best winning chance, or are you sticking loyal with the old horse?
Not for the fact that I've just probably been loyal to the old guy, Mick. I just think he's a bit of a quirky old fellow, and he's an older horse. He might not get too many other Interdom to run in. So I just thought I know him probably better than Mark at this stage. So to give him his best chance, probably would stick with him.
OK, you've had 5 drives on him, Nat, for 5 wins. As unbiasedly as possible, how do you rate him against Spanker, with both having slightly potentially tricky draws?
Look, I think they're both very good horses. Probably Spank's asset is he's so versatile. But Cruise he's mentally tough. Like, he's been there and he's raced at that grade. He's mentally tough. So they've both got that little bit on their side. But I just think Spank's he's just come through the series just unbelievably well. He just thinks he's just bulletproof at the moment.
Natalie, what could you have hoped for barrier draw-wise? Were you happy when Cruise Bromac drew the second row?
I was very happy, actually, Greg. I know people think it's not so good, but to me it was a great draw for him. If he's up on the mobile, he tends to get a little bit keen. So I said to Danny pre-draw, I said I'll be happy anywhere on the second row except for 1 the second. So now when I got that draw, I just thought it was just perfect for him. It just gives me a lot of options, and I won't be frightened if I need to make a mid-race move to do it. So, yeah, I just think it's a great draw for him.
In terms of Spankham, you've often talked about he's a tubby little guy and therefore the series will only bring him on. Where is he at now? Do you believe that you've got him bang on? And how much have you done with both horses this week?
Greg, look, I do believe he's somewhere near bang on. He is a chubby little fellow and he just doesn't miss a crumb of food. He's just unbelievable. So he's just ate everything. I actually gave him a little bit of strong work yesterday. I'll give him another little hobble tomorrow and then assess whether I want to do anything with him on Friday or Saturday. So, I'd say, barring any bad luck between now and then, I'll be pretty happy with where they are going in.
Natalie, there was a chance that you were considering coming back to New Zealand to drive on Friday night, obviously Ultimate Sniper and Princess Tiffany being at Alexandra Park, but you've decided that the job's only half done if you do that. You want to have your eyes and hands on these horses right up to the final. Was that a fair assessment?
Oh, most definitely, Greg. I just feel you don't, like these horses, a day in the life of one of these is a long time. So I just want to, if I work them on Thursday and I feel I haven't done quite enough or I've overdone it a little bit, I just need to be here Friday to then say, okay, well, Saturday morning I might want to give them a little jog canter, or maybe I don't want to do anything. But if you're not here, you don't really know. So, yeah, so I just said to Mark when we had a chat about it, I said, look, the races in Auckland are really lead-ups for other races on the 31st. I said, I'd just probably prefer to finish the job I started. I want to be here to do the best job I can do with them. And by being over there, I couldn't do that.
Now, just looking at the barrier draws and all the talk that goes on, and of course you're a native Australian, so you've done this plenty of times before. Do you think it's going to be a race with a lot of pressure, or do you think somebody's going to get the lead and it's just too hard to get around those horses at Melton for too many attackers?
Nick, look, they do tend to, when, like I say, when the big money's up, people tend to get a little bit more aggressive. So I'll be very surprised if there's not a lot of moves and a lot of, there might even be one or two there that you don't think might make a move, but they potentially could. So, but either way, for me personally, I think it'll work, because if no one's moving, I will, and if they all are, I won't. So, it leaves me in a good position. But I do think, Mick, they'll go hard. They always do.
Natalie, who do you think is the best winning chance, yours or anybody else's, in the Inter-Dominion Pacing Final on Saturday night? Who's the horse to beat?
Spankham.
Okay, that was pretty easy.
That's it.
Good luck. Good luck on Saturday night trying to become, I think it's a 5-time winning driver of the Inter-Dominion, and we're hoping things go well for you and for Mark over this pretty busy weekend.
Oh, great. Thanks very much, guys.
That was pretty
to the point, wasn't it?
Look,
yeah.
Before the New Zealand Cup, I wasn't sure who I liked in the race, and I spoke to Mark and Natalie on Sunday, and they sort of talked me into the fixer, and sometimes they get it wrong and sometimes they get it right, as we all do. When you hear that, it's really hard to bet against Spankham, and I can't believe I'm saying that. Not that I don't like the horse, I just sort of forgot about him as an open class force, and here he is now 2.9. I reckon he'll get out to 3.2 for the Inter-Dominion final. Their polish is on. One of the great ironies is that some people in Australia are going, oh no, Mark's driving him, not Nat. Well, Mark's driven the last 2 Inter-Dominion final winners. Right. So it's hard to back against him when you hear that. It's not a...
So will you be tipping him? Is he your number one?
I can't not tip him now, because I do think they'll burn early. And I think that the Purdon Rasmussen horses are actually very, very good when they don't get involved early and roll forward after about 800 to 1,000 metres. Yeah. There is the potential, if that happens and he keeps rolling forward, he ends up on the back of a Tiger Tara, which is a great place to be. I can't see him being anywhere if he's not in front, and I'm not sure he'll be there. But 1, 2, 3 in the running line. Sitting parked 1, 1 or 1, 2. That's where I think he'll be. Yeah. Well, he just looks...
He's in a great spot,
He looks a horse in the zone. I'm not saying he'll win, because if Galactic Star leads and stays there and gets to the passing lane, which I think might be doubtful, then San Carlos sitting on its back, it's a very comfortable run. But from what I've seen in the series, if you didn't know Spankham, if you'd never seen Spankham before in your life and watched that head at Cranbourne last week, you would have gone, there's a little bit of Lazarus about this horse, which sounds ridiculous. I know. But that's my tip for the race. Who's yours?
I'm going to go with Pat Salite. I think he'll be in the right spot throughout the race. Gavin hasn't won one of these, which he's won everything else. So I'm liking him, but...
Well, we're getting a bit of value. You're getting $5.
Yeah. Dan Malecki.
Where do you think he'll be?
I think he'll be one off.
Yeah.
Depending on how hard he goes forward.
Cranford was saying on radio yesterday in Melbourne that he wants to be in front.
What do you call him? Cranford?
It's his name. His name's Cranford. That's his first name.
Okay.
Did you not know that?
No, I thought it was Cran, but obviously Cranford's his full name.
His full name, yes. I've never met anybody else.
He won't be in the fashion of the field.
No, he won't be in the fashions in the field.
Thanks for that.
I think if he leads, he can win, but I still think if he leads, he'd be better off handing up. I think he's a very good passing lane horse.
I think the problem for him could be if he doesn't go forward and get the lead, then he could end up in the back half. Yeah. So that would be a given. But I can't knock his form.
It's incredibly hard to go past the New Zealand horses, and this isn't bias. If you just watched this series and you'd never seen harness racing before, you'd go, man, these things are just better than Australian horses. And it's kind of weird to say that, because maybe our best horses aren't there, but it's that type of series and you can only go on what's available. I think San Carlo's got a chance, even though he has been slightly underwhelming.
That's the run he needs.
Yeah, compared with the hype. Galactic Star is a very nippy little horse. I just think there'll be pressure. Tiger Tara deserves to win one of these, but from barrier 7...
He's in a power of pain.
Of course he is.
Dan Maliki found them 1, 2, 3, the Kiwi horses in this. So,
in what order?
Here we go. For you, Cruise Bromac, I'm Pat's Delight Spankum. So he thinks Cruise Bromac can win.
It's hard to argue with.
Yeah.
One way or the other, this is going to be a great Saturday night for our breeding industry.
Yes.
Because most of these horses, Tiger Tara are included, are New Zealand breeds. Galactic Star, of course, won 4 for Des Baines.
Des Baines did a great job
down in the south.
Yep.
Actually raced in the Southern Supremacy final, Heaven Rocks one, ran 6th in that. So at the moment, New Zealand bloodstock standard bred are in Australia trying to shop and get owners to come to the sales. And that,
great advertisement, isn't it?
Well, it needs reinvigoration, and we've got that, and then we've got the Trotters where we totally dominate. So I think that's really important that we have a really strong Saturday night, and if that happens to be a Galactic Star or Tiger Tara, that's still a win for our breeding industry. So yeah, I think they're shopping at the right time because I can't see Saturday night not being a good advertisement for us.
Yeah, it'll be a great advertisement, and you're right.
You're going to watch it live?
I will be watching it live. Yep.
11:40.
I'll be staying up.
11:45 on a Saturday night.
By the way, who's this horse here, Michael?
Who's that?
Any idea?
That is Cardigan Bay.
Oh, well, you're just a modern day phenomenon. What gave it away for you?
No, I've seen that photo before. That's Cardi at the showgrounds. That's his first workout in Australia before the showgrounds, before the Inters.
For the Inter final.
So that's him having a wash.
The series, not the final.
Who was the sire of Cardigan Bay?
No idea.
Held Triax.
Well, there you go.
See,
you just wanting to
I've
top
got nothing better to do with my life.
Yeah, I should have known
Seriously,
that,
it's embarrassing.
We're going to go to a break very shortly,
but
some performances in Australia. Rakapukarula won last night at Menangle. First up for Tim Butt. That was a good performance. Lochinvar Art. Gee, I was taken by its performance to win the other night, beating Demon Delight. So they're 3-year-olds going forward to the Derby Series, and Chase Auckland back at winning at the trials. That's exciting.
Colt 31,
yes,
the best horse in Queensland, beat the older horses back as a 4-year-old. Now, why am I telling you this? You don't care. Because the 4-year-olds, Ignatius is back at the trials in Tasmania, really good horse. Clearly, Colt 31's a very good horse. They've got Ride High, who won the Breeders' Crown. And then we've got our 4-year-olds. Chase Auckland, as you mentioned, Spankum, Pat's Delight. I mean, what a bunch of 4-year-olds we've got for
Sheriff.
Jules, your Sheriff, my apologies to Sheriff, for the Jules, for the Messenger, for the Chariots of Fire, all those type of races. I honestly believe 4-year-old racing's become our purest version of racing because the horses, they haven't been sold, most of the good ones yet. They're very strong. They're not feeling their joints like some of the older horses. And they're not the young horses. They've evened out physically, so they're not as dominant. I think over the last 10 years, 4-year-old racing has become the best version. And you look at Lazarus and Have Faith in Me, what they do as 4-year-olds, I almost think that's the best version of harness horses we see these days.
Yep, hard to argue with that. Short break for us. When we come back, it's the Trotters series we'll have a good look at. Welcome back into your box seat. Whilst the Interdom field doesn't have a whole lot of depth, Michael, half the field started out their career here in New Zealand. Obviously, they're bred in New Zealand, so there's plenty of interest there, and the key figures have all drawn well.
They have. The Trotters series has been two-sided, basically, to be honest. I think there's only 2 winning chances in the final unless they attack each other. Tornado Valley, who we know really well, and Speeding Spur, who we know even better. They've drawn well. Frontline Speeding Spur. We're going to try and get hold of John Dickey. I think they'll try and lead, Greg, and then maybe stay there and make things difficult for Tornado Valley, whether that entails leaving him parked or letting him get to the lead but making him work a bit. If they put pressure on each other, I think that Kai Valley Blue has a chance of coming over the top. And without being rude, that might just about be it. Now, if Speeding Spur stayed in front, Tough Monarch. Now, Illawong Armstrong, barrier 8 there, is an emergency. So if he comes out, Tough Monarch goes onto his back.
And he's had a great series.
Exactly, he has, and he's a very good horse. So then he comes into play. But after that, you're drawing very long bows to suggest the rest. I thought Monty Python could place if A-Butt was able to sneak in behind Speeding Spur at the start, which would mean Tough Monarch doing something wrong. So I don't see that happening. But over 27.60, he's been placed in the Dominion in a Row Cup.
He loves the extra
Exactly.
business,
He's got a chance for Phil Williamson and the team there. But there's the market. Tornado Valley opened at $1.90, straight into $1.70. Greg, I think he's the best horse in the series because Speeding Spur isn't quite as good as he used to be. But I think the Speeding Spur camp have the option to try and get him up on the steel Tornado Valley, and then you start saying, is he as good over 27.60? He's trotting very squarely. I love his form in the series. He's top pick number 6, but I think for most people in New Zealand, their heart will be with the 1.
Yeah, and here they are, paddock mates, almost. In different paddocks they are, but right alongside each other.
So Josh and John Dickey, when they go to Melbourne, stay with Andy Gath. So there's the 2 horses at Andy and Kate's property. This isn't the first time they've done this, because 2 years ago, in the Great Southern Star, Andy and Kate were training a horse called Glenferrie Typhoon, who was, again, paddock mates with Speeding Spur, and actually beat him home in the Great Southern Star for 300k. Andy's got a remarkable eye for talent. He's an incredibly strange harness racing trainer because he doesn't drive horses. Which is very, very rare that a harness trainer doesn't sit in a sulky. But Andy doesn't drive. Kate does all the driving. And he's got a great eye for talent. Now, he's brought up too many good horses out of New Zealand for it to be a fluke. And he found Tornado Valley, who we all knew was a pretty good horse. But he badgered, I believe, because you're telling me this, he badgered Terry McMillan to buy him for 18 months. He got his horse at a good price, and it's won a stack of money. So we'll talk to Terry shortly. Let's go back to the heats, because this was really impressive last week. This is at Cranbourne. Look at the back legs here, Tornado Valley. It actually takes away from the fact he's trotting so squarely, but the bandage comes loose.
Scary if you're on at $1.10 or whatever he was.
Would be a lot of fun, but he just ignores it. When they're in form, these horses, they just do awesome things. He is flying.
Yep, save our pennies. Second term in the 3 heats. Drawn a little bit awkwardly this week because it kept on drawing barrier 1 and getting the perfect run, but barrier 3's not really ideal.
Look, and he's just a horse.
Yeah.
He's a lovely, open class horse, and Gavin's driven him beautifully, but he's yet to suggest he's a free-for-all winner, let alone an Interdominion winner. The only way I can see the 2 favourites both getting beaten is if they attack each other. And I just don't see that happening. So that's Tornado Valley. And then we have Speeding Spur, who also went to Cranbourne. But joining us on the phone, Gregory, is something you've jacked up. Terry McMillan, a guy I used to see driving at Greymouth back in the old days, and he's produced himself, Gregory, an Interdominion trotting final favourite.
Yeah, very good evening to you, Terry. Greg O'Connor and Michael Guerin with you. Thanks so much for your time. How much are you enjoying the ride that is Tornado Valley in Australia?
Absolutely marvellous.
He's doing a magnificent job, isn't he, Terry?
He is. It's been great to watch him. We've waited a long time to even be associated with a horse as good as him. And all credit must go to Andy Gath. He's the man that's taken him to a new level. And, it's great to see.
I think you are downplaying how you developed this horse just a little bit. I know he's going great in Australia, but let's talk about how you got him to the point that he is now in many ways. Its mother, Began, she was a bit of a trick, wasn't she? She only won a couple of races. She should have won a few more.
She did. She was, I always considered her an open class mare on ability, but she was a three-legged pacer when she was born. And even when we went to break her in, she couldn't couldn't trot a yard. So she was qualified pacing, and then she started to trot later on, but she lost a lot of races because she was pacing away from the barrier, but she was very, very good.
Terry, your first foal by Sky Valley is Tornado Valley. Why Sky Valley?
Obviously, he had great bloodlines. And you may remember, I think we saw him on TV when we were seeing more racing from Australia. I think he went 156 one day in a big meeting in Australia. And he took my eye, and we've had a lot of success with first season sires. So I decided to go to Sky Valley.
That was the Maori Mile out of Cranbourne.
Yep, and you did say to me after he'd won a couple of times at 3, we won't see the best of this horse till he's 7 or 8. You couldn't have got that more, right?
No, well, that was the big problem. That was the hard part, was that when he was born, he was just like a little thoroughbred foal. But when we broke him in, he was naturally just a beautiful gaited trotter as a yearling. But he was only tiny, and he came back at 2 and he run a couple of workouts, went quick time at Ashburton, and I put him out again when people thought I was going to race him and try and get in the jewels. And then again at 3 when he had 5 starts for 2 wins and 2 thirds, and you spoke to me at Oamaru, you may remember, asked me if I was going to start him in the big races, and I said no. I said I've got tons of speed, but I've got no strength. I said it's going to take him 3 years before he'll have the real strength that he needs. So I'd like to think now, because he didn't race in those races, those hard races as a 3-year-old, and especially as a 2-year-old, that it's standing him in good stead now.
Yep, certainly is, Terry. Began, she's been a bit of a trick to get in foal. There's a couple of other colts, aren't there? And I see the mare's been served by creatine. She
has. There's 2. I've got a lovely one here. I've just 4-year-old by Monkey Bones. He was actually born with a bit of a twisted front leg, and he gets onto a knee a wee bit. But he's a very, very nice horse, and he's a very, very good horse too. If we could ever get him where we could get him to trot clean, he's got a great attitude. And there's a 3-year-old that is by Majestic Sun that can trot a bit too, and he's a big horse. So he's just starting to get ready to go to the workouts now. And she's missed, I think, 5 years. We only got 3 foals in 9 years, so I managed to get her in foal to creatine this time. So she's due, I think, on Christmas Day. So if he won the final and then she has a foal in a couple of weeks, well, that'd be couldn't be better.
Yeah, exactly.
Terry, I remember you driving at Victoria Park in Greymouth in the old days when it existed. Unfortunately, it doesn't anymore. For those who don't know your back catalogue that well, how long have you been training horses? And these days, how many would you have in work?
Well, actually, Mick, at the moment, as far as when I first started, I mean, I'm probably been going about 47, 48 years now. I drove my first winner at Ashburton on the big grass track with a mare called In Disguise for Mr. Billy Doyle, who I worked for at the time. So, and that was a 2-mile maiden race, I think, with 26 starters. So that's a long time ago. And sorry, Mick, carry on.
So, Terry, I'm just guessing here. I'm picking you don't spend most Saturday nights in the last 10 years sitting up till after 11 o'clock watching Australian harness racing. How's this Saturday night going to go for you? Will you park up with a bottle of something and sit down and watch it and maybe have a celebratory drink if you happen to breed the Interdom Trotting final winner?
Oh, for sure. I'll probably just be having a Diet Coke as usual, Mick. Nothing too flash, but we'll definitely be, can't wait for it to come around, and it'll be just wonderful if he can win it. But as far as going back to Victoria Park in those days, Mick, I had a great run over there in Greymouth, but now I'm training. I've just got 1 paying owner. I'm working 7 horses, so that means the other 6 are our own that we've bred. They've got 3 pacing mares have just all had new foals in the last month, and Beacon is due to foal in a fortnight, and the 3 pacing mares are all going back and foal to Vincent at the moment. So that's why we have to sell some, Mick, to pay for the others.
Well, Terry, good luck. It's a great story. We wish you, after 47, 48 years in harness racing, all the best on Saturday night, because you're the man who made this horse. So good luck to you. And of course, it's something to be proud of. It'll be a photo for the wall if you are the man who bred the Interdom champ.
Thank you very much for the call. Much appreciated.
Yeah, great, Terry. Thanks so much. And we do wish him all the very best. It's a great story, isn't it?
Answer this honestly. If you sold the horse he went on to win the Inter-Dominion, would a little bit of you be duty?
A little bit, yep, no doubt. But I'll tell you what, the one thing you can say about Terry, he's just a gentleman. And he's always got a smile on his face. Every race minute you go up to him, he says, how you going, how's life, that sort of thing. He cares. And I think a lot of people will care if this horse wins because of his involvement.
I remember when I was a kid, him knocking around, this is 35 years ago, knocking around in Greymouth, and, you know, always loved to be at the front of the field. Good-mannered horses, they stepped away. Look, harness racing needs machines like the All-Stars and the Crandell Geddes and the Barry Purdas. It needs those things. Clearly they do. But harness racing wouldn't survive without the 200 or 300 Terry McMillans we have around the country.
Well, you just heard him there. He's breeding, you know, 6 horses a year.
He's been doing this as long as I've been alive.
I know, and just loves it.
I'll tell you a man who's been doing this, and their family's been doing it for a long time, are the Dickeys, because John Dickey and Josh now train together. John's father trained Trotters. Isn't it funny how the people who can train Trotters, and you heard there that Terry used to work for Bill Doyle, who was great with the Trotters, isn't it funny how it's handed down almost like a badge of honour, the ability to shoe them properly and gear them and most importantly get them trotting really squarely. And it's amazing how the people who love it, it's like a religion to them, a frustrating religion, but a religion nevertheless. And John Dickey has been at the Church of Trotting for an awfully long time.
Yes, and he joins us on the phone. Dixie, thanks so much for your time, and congratulations on the way this horse has handled the series and how you continue to resurrect his career. He's certainly in the zone at the moment.
Yeah, he is, Greg. He's done really well over here. We couldn't be more pleased with him, mate.
John, by my calculations, I think he, in New Zealand dollars, has gone past the $1 million mark now. So regardless of what happens on Saturday night, that's a real feather in his cap, and one I know you wanted to achieve with him.
Yeah, it would have been nice to do it in a winning way, Mick. But I think any horse who can, make that sort of money, Mick, shows what sort of horse they are. And no, we're just very happy to have him to train, Mick.
All right, barrier one, John. Everybody wants to know because people love money, John. Very handy thing, money. Are you going to lead and stay in front? Is that Josh's decision? What goes on here in the final?
Well, for a start, it is Josh's decision, Mick, but certainly he's got to, the first thing he's got to do is keep Gav out. Gav's also been racing really good. We believe we can. He may just hit us out of the gate, but we think we can hold our line into the first 10. And then leave it up to Joshua after that, Mick, because Andy's horse has got a lot of speed, as you know. But again, first of all, we've got to worry about getting around the first bend. If Gav crosses and he hands to Andy's horse, we've got no show. We threw back the rail and you've got to be handy at Melton. So that's first and foremost, that's the first thing we've got to do, Mick.
We saw him winning 2 of his heats, and I thought he was very good at Cranbourne last week after being attacked. Was he a touch tired on Saturday as some of the horses in the series looked, and how has he been during this week?
Yeah, it's funny that people say he looks tired. Mick, he always races tired, to be honest. I mean, he's that type of horse. No, he wasn't tired, and he's got through the series really good. And in fact, a lot of the scribes over here keep asking me because he didn't go any good in the Dominion. Would he back up? And I said to him, well, I wouldn't bring him over and had 3 races in a week if I didn't think he'd back up. And he didn't. He underperformed in the Dominion, but now, as I say, there's no excuses for him, Mick. He's fit and healthy, and he'll go down fighting.
Talking about Tornado Valley, you have spent most of the last 2 weeks at Andy Gath's property. I'm pretty sure the version of Speeding Spur, who won the Great Southern Star 2.5 years ago, would beat Tornado Valley. Have you got the version this year to beat him because he's an older horse and he's had all those issues along the way, as Greg mentioned?
Yeah, that's the burning question, Mick. You know, we'd like to think so, but if you go on form over the 3 nights, Andy's horse has got the wood on us. There's clearly has got the wood on us. We just hope that basically it's a fast run, 2,700 metres, and when we need a quicker mile rate than the slow, then in the middle stages, Mick. And then, like Andy's beaten us at Cranbourne when we were parked. There's no excuses for being parked, but they trot home in 26.9 on the rail. He's out. He's one out, so he actually can't break 27, Mick. He probably could as a 4-year-old, but now he can't. So therefore, what I'm saying is we need that quicker mile rate through the middle stages, and then they tend not to come home that quick, Mick.
John, you've won richer races with this horse this year than $150,000, but I know you were one of the first people to get a smile on your face when you heard the Interdominion Trotting Series was back. The family's never won one. You finished 3rd or 4th and won 20, 30 years ago. How much would it mean to you after what your family has done in trotting to win this Interdominion now that it's come back at the right time for you?
Yeah, that's exactly how I look at it, Mick. The stake in my eyes is quite poor, but it's an Interdominion, and I would love to win an Interdominion. My dad never got a chance. My mum, Tildy, I think she ran third. I had a fourth one year at Addington many years ago, and they were the closest we've got. The Interdominion is what I grew up with having as a kid, Mick. The New Zealand Trotting Cup and the Interdominion are the biggest two races in Australasia, in my opinion. And hey, we're in it, and we've got a good draw, we've got a good horse, and we'll be fighting.
On behalf of the harness racing fans in New Zealand, particularly of this horse Speeding Spur, and there are a huge arsenal of people that just love this horse because he tries so hard. All the very best to you and Joshua. I'm sure you'll do them proud. As you said, you've got the barrier draw to work with, and good luck on Saturday night, and thanks for your time.
Thank you, guys.
It goes to show what it means to people. Like that Interdominion trotting series, and we campaigned really hard to get it back. Disappeared for 6 years. Total stuff up. God knows why it did. But it's back now, and to someone like Dixie, who's been doing this his whole adult life, to have a chance to win this is really cool. And same for Terry McMillan, because that chance was taken away from them. And I remember having this conversation with you this time last year when we said that's got to come back, because it is different from the pacing final. It's different from Cran and Mark and Nat and Bondi and people who have these higher price horses. Some of these horses didn't cost very much.
Well, Tornado Valley, I know, was sold through Paul Davies for $40,000.
Exactly. So everybody can be a player here. We've seen that with the Fords and the Tomlinsons. And that's the point of difference the Trotters bring back. Yes, it wants to be $250,000. We know it needs to be. But I don't think anybody's going to care about the stake on Saturday night. No,
I don't think they will. What about Dan Malecki's thoughts around it? Well, he went all Kiwis in terms of the pacing final. No Kiwi there, or ex-Kiwi.
Kiwis can't fly. So what are you doing? So Dan's going Tornado Valley, Save Our Pennies, Kai Valley Blue.
I know you're going to tell me that and you've told me this many times, that you're wrong, don't bet parochially, but I'm thinking Speeding Spur can win this. I've got a theory that he'll get Tornado Valley on the chewy, and if he does that, he's a chance of beating him up the lane.
I 100% agree with you. It's not parochial at all, it's just business. There's two winning chances. I actually
believe that can happen.
There's two winning chances in the final. His chance is to get him wound up, get him up on the steel. Kate, who's a personal friend of mine, she can really get them on the steel. She's only little, and when they get on the steel, it could change.
I'm
not saying it will, but if that happens and it sits in the passing lane, that's how he won the Roe Cup last year, running Passingheim. He's a very good passing lane horse. 2 years ago, no doubt Speeding Spur wins this race. But as you heard John just say, it's not our opinion, it's his. He's not as fast as he used to be. It's going to be a great race. And if Tornado Valley beats him, it's not a defeat for the Kiwis, it's a win for Terry McMillan and their team. And for Andy Gath, who's put an awful lot of money into New Zealand trainers' pockets over the years by buying horses from here. It's going to be a lot of fun. So one's just after 11 o'clock for the Trotters.
That's it.
And the Pacers 11:45 on Saturday night.
Yep, and Mrs. Gagler, I think that's how you say her name, is the co-breeder of Tornado Valley, so I'm sure it's a pretty special time.
Well, she can have a Diet Coke too. She can sit up and have a Diet Coke.
Absolutely.
On Saturday
Short
night.
break for us. We've looked over the Tasman. Now we need to go to Alexandra Park because it is one heck of a race night there Friday night. Big races head once again at Alexandra Park. We start with the second night at Manawatu. $40,000 fast track insurance pick six there, 8 races, 5:16. There is the night, Michael. What an outstanding program it is. And the first of 10 goes at 5:54.
It's kind of snuck up really quickly because the Interdominions have been on and Cup Week doesn't feel that long ago. And here we are, the Group 1s and a couple of Group 2s. And it's an excellent meeting. The markets are out. We'll look at those shortly. Also around the country, Addington, Turbo Pick 6 with Alexandra Park. I'll be honest, I like Turbo Pick 6s per se, but there's two things wrong with this. First of all, it should have just been Alexandra Park because it's a good betting. And secondly, how's it 40 at Manawatu and 25 there?
Yeah. Hard to
And then
get.
race Saturday night at Alexandra Park, because obviously it's Christmas at the park. There's a whole bunch of people going to that, and it dovetails nicely into the Interdom.
And Rangiora have a good day on Sunday. Rangiora Summer Cup, $13,000 there, and also Winton. So they've got a $5,000 bonus early quaddies. They seem to be working really well, Michael, because the pools in the early
Get about
part of the day,
40,000 and stuff?
Yeah, they do. It's excellent.
I agree. Next Wednesday, Forbury Park, but you shouldn't watch that. We're going to go have the box head afterwards, so you can do both, because
That's the sort of people we are.
you don't want to miss it. It's just that good.
Okay, let's get into the Queen of Hearts and the market. And Mia, who's already won an Auckland Cup, is a dominant favourite here. And Michael, all things being equal, she should just win.
I thought they would open her $1.20, and I was going to have a multi-bet for my bet this week on some of the Perd and Rasmussen shorties, because they tend to win and it's the best way to make money. I can actually make a case for you to back her straight out. If they hold this race 100 times, would she win more than 66 times? That's what $1.55 is telling you. Yeah, she would. The only danger in my mind, and this is no disrespect to Utmost Delight, but I see this happening. Almac or potentially American Empress runs to the front. Either of those horses hands up to a Dream About Me, and after that I can't see her beaten.
No.
Now, Utmost Delight's a really good horse, and put her on Dream About Me's back, and maybe she can beat her. But she's not going to be there, I would think. I just can't make any case at all on what we saw last week that Dream About Me, unless she underperforms, gets beaten. So here's the race last week. They doodled around and Almac got the lead. It's in the Santa's cap, which probably didn't help much. And Dream About Me got the lead off it. And there's a very good chance this exact same thing could happen this week. So you make your own decision here. This isn't rocket science. Here's Utmost Delight pulling to the outside. She'll be better for the run. And clearly, she's a very good mare. But when you're looking at this, Gregory, I'm stunned this horse isn't $1.20. I'm not saying she's immoral, but I thought they would open her at those odds.
A lot shorter, yeah. She won pretty comfortably in the end, and you're right about Utmost Delight. She was first up since the harness duel, so she will derive a lot out of that. But from where she is, she's going to have to sit park, one would think, or be in the back end of the field where these two mares, Almac and Dream About Me, will be on the marker pegs.
And the one thing I would say about Dream About Me is she doesn't ever win by much. She used to as a younger horse because she was so physically dominant, because she was quite a big 2-year-old, but she doesn't win by big margins. Even when she won the Hannah Memorial, it wasn't by much.
She only just got there.
So don't be put off by them. I'll be surprised if Almac runs past her on last week's form. Maybe something's happened this week. We'll ask Mark Purden. We're all on track on Friday night, but I'll be surprised if it changes. I think $1.55 is really fair, and I'm adamant she won't pay that on the night.
No, Mark's won 5 of these. Brent Mangos drove better cover. Love it to back-to-back wins. What a great race filling mare she was. We need to have a look at the Lincoln Farms bloodstock. This is, of course, the Franklin Cup, the key lead-up race towards the Auckland Cup on the 31st. And Turn It Up has turned up at Alexandra Park, and he's $2.10. An All-Stars Arsenal here, though. Ashley Locas, very good last week. We'll look at that in a moment. $4.20, same price. All You Need Is Faith. Now, Michelle Nielsen will drive All You Need Is Faith with Natalie staying in Australia. You've got Jack's Legend placed in the free-for-all of cars, of course, a couple of starts back, and Luckless last week, and the return of Star Galleria.
Yeah, I'm glad to see him back, Star Galleria. It's a tough race to come back in because it's an almost capacity field, and he's off a 30-metre handicap, so he's going to be an awfully long way behind some good horses. So it's a willing-to-watch job with him. I'm not sure he'll win the Auckland Cup either, but now he's back, and I'm glad he is for Reed Man. He's in play for a race like the Cambridge Mile, for sure. I have no idea what's going to happen here. The standing start's going to dictate who ends up where, and this time last week Mark said to us, whoever gets the better run will win, and that's pretty much how it worked out. So Ashley Locas, who's got that really quick speed, came over top of All You Need Is Faith, or they came together actually, and just came over top of all their rivals. I thought On the Cards was really good here. I don't know who.
I think he's a pretty good horse on the cards, but it's a tough year for a 4-year-old, as we've just been mentioning, because of the level of depth. And when we were talking about some of them before, we never even mentioned Turn It Up. We never mentioned Sicario. We never mentioned Ashley Locas.
That's how good the 4-year-olds are.
And we never, All You Need Is Faith. So it's a heck of a crop. But I thought he might have been able to win during Cup Week, Ashley Locas. And, his performances were good, and he wasn't able to, but he was there, and he possibly can win again, although the rap I've got on Turn It Up.
Yeah, Turn It Up's obviously a very good horse. I have no idea how he'll go around Alexandra Park from a standing start. I just don't know. So I'll be watching, probably not betting.
No.
Well, try and find some value. This market will bounce around a bit. Actually, Locas might come out to $6, or all you need is Faith is the most likely one to drift because, no disrespect to Michelle, but it doesn't have one of the top 2 or 3 leading stable drivers on, which is Mark, Tim and Nat. So people will tend to steer away from the one because they often think
She
it's not a
actually
better
drove
chance.
it at the Cup Trials and won on them in the Cup Trials. So
But it's no different to Nat the other day. Once Nat chose Cruise Bromac,
they go there.
it collapsed in the market because people think it means something. It doesn't always mean something.
No.
But if Turn It Up wins this, I think he'll start favourite in the Auckland Cup. I'm not sure he will win it though because I've got no idea what's going to happen at the start, which is going to be really crucial with a lot of horses bunched together on 10 metres. He might just win, but yeah, those races for me, you start looking to try and find something you think is overs, and it's a confusing race.
Earlier in the night, we've got the Prodoza Lyle Creek, named after the great horse himself. He won this race a couple of times. Mark Caller's come up $1.90, and I know when we first saw that, you were like, wow, didn't see that coming either.
Yeah, again, I think the bookies are giving you a chance this week for the multi-bets, because if the Mark Caller, and he is, or can be, quite in and out, but if the Mark Caller who raced in the Dominion turns up and behaves himself, he'll just be winning. I don't see any possibility on what I saw down South Le Mans crosses him if Clint Ford, who we all knew was going to be driving this horse league, decides to launch at the start, then he's in front and he'll probably win if he performs to his maximum.
If he does lead, stablemate Emerito Sun's going to be in the right spot, you would think.
Wouldn't mind if we could just wind up the place market here because it's quite relevant. I think the best bet for the entire weekend could well be the fact that Mark Caller, we are thinking, might lead, and we'll speak to Clint on the night and see if he's travelled and all that sort of stuff. But here's the bet of the night. Emerito Sun, $3.80 a place if Mark Caller's going to lead. Now, I was tipping Le Mans in the free-for-all, and I got that completely wrong. But on what I've seen recently, Le Mans no better than Emerito Sun. And Emerito Sun could potentially be following the favoured leader. 380. Put it this way, I'd rather be taking 380 him than Temporale 290 from the outside of the gate or Woodstone $2 from the second line.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's got his chance. I think Mark Caller will probably win.
Yep, should be a really good race contest once again, the Lyle Creek. Let's have a look at the Peter Brecken Memorial Ladyship Stakes, and she got beaten last week, Princess Tiffany, but she did miss a trial the week before, and she eventually was going to get beaten her outstanding 2-year-old season where she didn't. That run has come to an end, but I think it'll spin back round on Friday night.
She just looked like a horse who was a run short, and that was because of the missed trial. I think she'll probably go forward here and get the lead, and therefore it should be race over. But what about your girlfriend? Wainui Creek, you got the love on, and she got the job done at Addington last time. I would love to see Richard Aubrey come north and win a decent race. Can she, because she seems to have a very big motor, maybe give the Princess a fright?
Look, she could if she drew inside, I think, but I know your theory, and Wale will tell me this Friday night as well. First up the park, first time, drawn wide off the front row. It's really probably a seek and find out mission first up, and I'm not saying that they're not there to win the race, of course they are, but the Sire Stakes is worth $150,000 on New Year's Eve. I think she could challenge her. Whether that'll be this week, I'm not so sure.
I think plenty of people will be willing to take the $1.30 in the multis. I think she'll bounce back, but you know, there's a little window of opportunity there now where you start thinking, okay, is this a complete done deal? Maybe it is. Maybe.
Here's last week's.
Maybe let's go back to the aberration which could have been last week. So here she is, she's outside the leader and she's worked awfully hard to get here, had to come 4 wide, and she just starts to peak here, does Princess Tiffany. Cheesy Fingers in the green on the outside is really good. And there's Bella Montana up the passing lane for Zachary, and it's just gone super. It only its 3rd start.
Bella Montana to blow them all out. Bella Montana and Zachary Butcher deep on the HR Fiskin passing lanes.
Took the short way home.
Follows Cheesy Fingers, who was really good. Tony's driven the winner of this race about, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. So I give her a great place chance, Cheesy Fingers.
Yeah, I agree. And particularly depending on where she sits in the run. Kayla Marie's back. If Princess Tiffany was short last week, are we thinking Kayla Marie's going to be short this week?
I would have thought so, yeah.
That was a lovely drive by Zach. I think this is obviously a pretty good filly, and she's got a lot of improvement in her, but yeah,
she might be for the fence.
I think it's a pretty good crop. I think it's a crop of horses where Princess Tiffany, Kayla Marie, both Group 1 winners. Bella Montana's won that race, obviously. Cheesy Fingers is on the improve. And Wainui Creek's pretty talented. We've got a little bit to play with here. I hope it's not a crop where Princess Tiffany dominates, and last week would suggest it's not quite that cut and dried.
No. Alabar for the 3-year-olds, the classic. And this should be a really good race as well. Last week we saw Jessie Duke back in winning form. The unbeaten Ultimate Sniper, who will have Tony Herlihy to drive with Natalie across the Tasman. Heisenberg was outstanding last week. He just got nutted on the line, but he's come up with the outside front row draw, and the 2-year-old of the year has the inside second row draw behind its former stablemate.
Yeah, exactly. A better act, now trained by the Dickies. Look, I think this comes down to the tactics early. I would presume, and it's only a presumption, that Jessie Duke, if Mark gets serious, would probably go forward and get the lead. So here it is winning last week. Sat parked outside the leader. Heisenberg gave it plenty to try and run down. And he gets there, but only just by a nose. And that's another masterpiece sitting in the 1-1, as Mark indicated to us last week, was going to be vulnerable, fresh up. Very good here, Jessie Duke, but not definitively good. Now, because of this, if he is able to lead this week, I wouldn't be stunned to see him hand up to Ultimate Sniper, only because 2 reasons. It's a stablemate, and secondly, I don't think they want him getting roughed up by Ultimate Sniper, who I think's the better horse. If that happens, $1.35, beautiful. More than happy to be on Ultimate Sniper.
But he is first up at the park.
Exactly. And he's also first up since he won the Sire Stakes. So if you gave me $1.35 him or $1.30 Princess Tiffany, I'm more interested in the second of those two things because I have less concerns. He probably should just win, but I wouldn't want to be taking $1.35 him sitting parked, even though he might have genuine X factor.
All right, for a more in-depth look at the race meetings around the country, don't forget the Whale Watch for each of the harness meetings. So there's a lot of them at the moment. I think he does sort of the top 4 or 5 for the week as opposed to 6 or 7.
It's an easy way to bet. He gives you three horses. You can catch it on the TAB's Punters Lounge site too. They put it up there. So look, it's going to be a really good meeting. I think the Premier meetings aren't what they used to be because the stakes are quite good at each end of the island. That $20,000 isn't often enough to draw other horses up, but horses like Oscar Bonavina versus Sonny's Little Jessica in the first.
That's a good race.
There's age group racing potential pointers there. So I think the days of the Premiers, I think we need super Premiers. I think we need 6 of them at about $35,000 for the stake. I don't know where the money's going to come from. I'm not paying it. But that's what we need because I think $20,000 isn't enough. I wouldn't send a horse to Addington and vice versa. I wouldn't expect Canterbury owners to send a horse to Auckland for $20,000 if you can race for 14 or 15 down home. Unless you're coming for A, a bigger goal, age group goals, or B, you want a triple weight, you want to have a bit of fun. So I reckon, Greg, for the Premiers to get back to being wow and having a national spread, we need 5 or 6 super Premiers.
Yep, can't argue with that. We have a new member of the 1,000 Win Club. John Dunn went close to doing it with Eisenberg. He did the business here aboard Chief of Staff Jason Thomas, who has worked for the Dunns over the years, trains this horse. And Jay Dunn, not very often you get a salute from him. It meant a fair bit to him. We'll get Mark Mack to bring him home.
$1 million monkey from BK Dawn and Don't Rock the Boat. The leader is Chief of Staff, a length and a half, Clover Lou, and then BK Dawn, Bright Close running on. Chief of Staff clear though. It's Chief of Staff and John Dunn becomes the 25th person to 1,000. Chief of Staff has won it. Chief of Staff has beaten, I think, Bright Glow and
Joins his brother Dexter, of course, and he's always been a very good driver in the last 6 or 7 seasons with horses like Venus Serena. He's been a Group 1 driver and winning plenty of them. I think he's won about 8 or 9 now, Michael. And that was just another example of how he can rate one in front. They do run for him.
I'll be honest. I'm not going to bullshit you. When he first started driving, I don't think he could drive. He was very big and he's quite tall for a horseman. And sometimes, like a Nathan Williamson, that can make them look slightly different from other horsemen who are quite small, because most of them are quite small. And he was Dexter's brother, and Dexter was so good. You were like, oh, well, you're the guy, you're the other brother. And he just got better and better and better and better. And now when I see him in a race, it's a plus. I go, okay, that's a plus, that's a bonus. And that was my mistake. And maybe it took him longer because Dexter was so dynamic automatically. He's a very talented horseman. You know,
he's driven in over 8,000 races.
He trains half these horses himself. He's a very talented horseman. I got that completely wrong, and he's matured a lot as a bloke because he's a family man these days, and he has responsibilities with this big team. So, look, I was thrilled to see him get that the other day, and
came through what was the kids' carts version of it then, the pony trots.
He would look awfully tall in the kids' carts.
He did, yeah, I can remember him adding. He used to drive a horse called Buster Musician, which was a pretty smart
Is that
pony.
an unfair thing to say? Whenever you see those guys, like Nathan, who's a very good driver, when you see guys who are above 6 foot in the cart, they look different than Ricky May does, because they're littler. So you do often think to yourself, oh, that looks a bit different from what I'm used to seeing. And it's not because they can't drive. It doesn't make them any different, better. It's just you're used to seeing drivers look the same sort of way. Yeah,
I can see a little bit of that, but I can also, the Dexter factor, even though John's older, obviously, once he came along, he became the other brother, didn't he?
It's Bodie Barrett and Geordie Barrett. And it's even the same height difference.
Speaking of drivers and premierships, let's have a look at each, for the next 3 weeks anyway, 3 or 4 weeks, the premierships in terms of where they sit before Christmas. John Morrison driving great. Cherie Tomlinson missed a week because she's away at the Australasian Young Drivers Championship, which she won, is only one behind him, but he's developing as a pretty handy sort of a horseman, this John Morrison. He trains horses as well. Ben Hope's having a terrific season.
I gave Mark Hurrell the big rap during Cup Week, and still haven't met him, but he drives well.
Yeah, he does. So
it just goes to show
it's
you...
a good battle, isn't it?
It is a good battle, and we're going to keep updating these over the summer, but when you look at that, it makes you realise how fewer opportunities the North Island juniors get.
Compared.
Because there's just not, the fields aren't as big, there's not as many drives going around.
And there's not as many race meetings.
No, exactly right. So it's a lot harder. But Ben Butcher drives an open class races, and he still won't be able to keep up with the Southerners because there's just so many horses down there.
Woodlands, they've got Double or Nothing there, race 4, Alexandra Park, Wainui Creek, who we've already mentioned, and Eastwood Ideal, who I think will win race 5. He's a pretty progressive maiden, that guy, so give him a good chance. What about the tipping update? You will be looking forward to this part.
Ages on this lap tonight because I didn't see many horses. I didn't know that Mark Calder was going to be $1.90. So I couldn't find a horse I really wanted to back.
Guerin's at the top.
Well, this is after 8 weeks. So after 8 weeks...
And we're finishing at Christmas.
Oh, good.
So got to try and chase you down between now and then.
So there you go. Mark Max bounced back and young Cameron's doing a great job. Look, it's been pretty even. And
so realistically, we've only got 2 weeks to go.
One winner would put you in front one way or the other, but you've got like a wildfire at the park.
I'm trying to get some value so that I've got a chance to chase you down. I reckon it went great first up. Todd Mitchell's in terrific form, so I've gone with it. Is it Exalare?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's what you've gone with. Race 5, number 2.
I picked it to win. We're both
Matt
gone
Cross
for
is on holiday, but he's found Mark Calder.
Well, no, he didn't. We put it in there for him.
Yeah, nice. Zealand Star for Aaron White, who's owned by the
What about Mark McNamara? He's got all serious now because he's in play. He has a chance to win the final. He's got Franco
top 3
Saxon.
anyway.
God. Sabreur for Cameron, who's doing a great job. He's a young harness presenter on trackside. He's in 3rd place. And poor old Speeding Spur. It's got to carry egg roll around Melton.
It does.
on Saturday night.
Yeah. Stacey's gone for All About Henry, who is driven by a partner. So she's done that a couple of times now.
Well, that'll keep her in good stead at home.
Yeah, David Watt.
I'm looking forward to the weekend, mate. It's going to be a lot of fun on Friday night, and Saturday will be cool. And this time next week, we're going to have 2 new Interdom champions. And this time next year, it's going to be here. It's kind of weird to think it's coming back, but this time next year, it's going to be in Auckland. So be interesting to see how many horses we can cobble together for a series because we keep selling heaps of them.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for your time, mate. Thanks for yours as well. We'll see you in 7 days' time for the box seat.